This is a true horror story that happened in Taiwan. When I was 19, my father was diagnosed with cancer. We started trying many methods, hoping to find a glimmer of hope among them. We tried traditional Chinese medicine, Western medicine, and even folk remedies. We even tried spiritual healing, although most of it felt fake. Later, through a friend's introduction, we met a psychic. With just my father's date of birth and other related information, he was able to predict my father's life events, such as when he started working, got married, gained wealth, and had children. He also accurately described family relationships, work life, and other details. The precision of his predictions made us believe him. I remember initially thinking he was a fraud. I went 3 times to see how accurate he really was. The first visit was very strange. Just as we were about to reach the destination, I suddenly fell asleep in the car. One moment, I was chatting and laughing, and the next moment, I was silent. My mother noticed I was asleep and couldn't wake me up, no matter how hard she tried. I'm usually a light sleeper, but that time I slept deeply. My mother said that when we arrived, I even sat up and said,
I don't want to go.
Then fell back asleep. They had no choice but to leave me in the car. That day's memory is very peculiar, as if someone erased it from my mind. I only remember that we were supposed to visit a psychic, but never went. A few months later, I asked my mother, when are we going to see that psychic? She told me we had already been there. A few months later, my father and the others went back to see the psychic. This time, I made sure I didn't fall asleep and finally met him. The psychic said to me,
If it's not your concern, you can't come. Today, it is your concern.
I didn't understand at the time and thought he was just pretending to be mysterious. The psychic asked for my birth date, lit a few incense sticks, and started talking to an empty chair next to him. I was skeptical. He said we had to wait for an answer and chatted with us over tea. Finally, we got the answer. It turned out that my parents and I had been family for several lifetimes. In one lifetime, my father in this life was a woman, and my mother in this life was a man. Their genders were reversed. My mother was surprised because she always thought my father had a feminine personality, like loving to shop, go out, take photos, and dress up. My mother, on the other hand, rarely wore makeup, disliked going out, and had a personality like an old man. She often joked that my father was more suited to be a woman. The psychic told us that in that lifetime, my father had to go on a business trip, and the roof of the house was leaking. He instructed my mother, who was my father in this life, to hire workers to fix it. My mother did as told, but during the rainy season, the house couldn't be fixed. She forced the workers to work overtime to finish before her husband returned. As a result, a worker fell from the roof and died. In this life, the worker came to take my father's life, and my mother would lose an eye as a price. Later, my mother did lose an eye suddenly one day. My father's illness improved significantly after the psychic's intervention, which even the doctors found incredible. 5 years later, when we thought my father had recovered, the psychic called and said something bad had happened related to my father. We rushed back, and the psychic revealed a second karmic connection. He said that my parents and I had been family for several lifetimes. In another lifetime, I was still their son, and their genders were reversed. My parents found me a suitable marriage partner, but I already had someone I loved named Mila. My mother, who was my father in this life, strongly opposed it. We thought that if we had a child, our parents wouldn't stop us. However, Even after we had a child, my mother didn't approve and secretly hired someone to get rid of the child. Mila died from an infection. It was said to be very bloody and tragic. Mila held a grudge and wanted our lives. After several lifetimes, she couldn't find us until this life. The psychic said I looked very similar to my past life, so she found me. He advised us to eat vegetarian, recite scriptures, and copy sutras to resolve the issue. One day, while I was napping in my college dorm around 5 p.m., I heard a faint female laugh near my left ear. I looked around the room, but it was quiet, and my roommates were not there. Suddenly, I heard a sound like someone throwing trash into the bin. I was so scared that I put on my clothes and ran out of the dorm. Later, the psychic said Mila was willing to let me go, but not my father. She felt her death was too unjust, and her child was innocent. The psychic couldn't do anything because she had divine permission for revenge. My father survived the first calamity, but 5 years later, his cancer returned, and he passed away shortly after. If you want to see my videos faster, please like and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates.